This is a big revelation in this story. We are concluding with what happened to this boy, Kendrick Lee. This little boy was tragically left to rot and die, will be believed, caused to death by mom's boyfriend. Very, very crazy story, but I want you guys to hear the conclusion, at least part of the conclusion in this story. But before we give you the details, let me give you a disclaimer. We'll try to keep it short, though. We'll try to keep this really, really short. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. And I'm getting this update from Fox26Houston.com, so thank you for the article. Y'all got to go back and watch my original stories. This fool wanna be thug. You know, when you date thugs, you date death. This man, mom's boyfriend, she chose this man and abandoned her kids and left her child dead to die and rot around her other children. Is just gut-wrenching, to say the least. Brian Coulter, the man found guilty, and he's grown his hair out. So if you guys don't recognize this fool, as you can see, he's grown his hair out since he's been in jail. He will spend the rest of his life in prison for killing 8-year-old Kendrick Lee. After 3 days of testimony, the judge gave Coulter a guilty verdict of capital murder. So y'all know how that ends. That's no possibility of return. Brian Coulter stood as the judge gave his sentence with no reaction to it. Just minutes before, the prosecution gave their final statements, which included gruesome images of the apartment bedroom on Greencrest where the boys were held for over a year. The courtroom was frozen as images of the boys' skeletal remains lied underneath a blanket. His remains were in the room with his brothers. And if y'all don't remember the story, mom essentially had a whole nother apartment to live with her boyfriend and live it up with her white thug, and left her children at what I believe to be her Section 8 paid for by the people apartment, and allegedly tried to leave them with food so they could survive on their own while mom go off and go live with her man while mom had a bunch of kids. I think she deserves a life sentence as well. The brothers testified last week saying they witnessed that man on the right-hand side of the screen beat their brother to death. Here's what some of the 178th Criminal District Judge Kelly Johnson said to Coulter. One of the most horrific set of facts that I have ever had to witness, to listen to, and to imagine. And sir, those children have been haunted. Those children have haunted me this last week. They haunted my mind, and they have interrupted my safe space when I leave the building. When I leave this building. Following the verdict, the prosecution spoke about the courage of the brothers that had to testify. It is never a fun thing to make a child relive a traumatic event or make them talk about it, so we obviously want to strike a balance between finding justice for their brother Kendrick Lee and making them talk about what was truly a terrible moment in their lives. And that's according to Celeste Byram, not Bynum, but Byram, Harris County Assistant District Attorney. You know, making them relive it is something that is very difficult. It's a very difficult thing, and as long as they tell the truth, that's the big thing, said Edward Applebaum, Harris County Assistant District Attorney. The criminal trial for the co-defendant, the children's mother by the name of Gloria Williams, will be happening soon. So we look to get justice there also. The defense declined to speak with the press after the verdict was given. Let me give you guys the fair usage. We'll try to only show a couple of news videos of the conclusion of this trial. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. If you guys would do me a favor and share this story, because a lot of people might not have caught this update. We definitely want people to really know and follow the story to understand that mom's thugging little boyfriend is never going to get out of prison as a punishment.
The state has rested in the capital murder trial of Brian Coulter. He's accused of killing 8-year-old Kendrick Lee and leaving the boy's decomposing body in an apartment where the boy's brothers had to live. The surviving brothers recounted the heartbreaking details in court today. ABC 13's Courtney Fisher has more on a dramatic 911 call that one of those brothers made.
Today ended with finally hearing that 911 call from the 15-year-old who said on the phone to dispatchers, quote, "My brother is dead. He's been dead for a while." We heard from all 3 surviving siblings. One by one, they testified. It was gut-wrenching, but they stayed calm and composed the whole time, going through those detailed events, what they called abuse. The 2 younger boys, who were ages 10 and 7 at the time that their brother Kendrick Lee died at the hands, they say, of Brian Coulter, they told us that they saw Brian Coulter beat Kendrick Lee to death. And Coulter sat there stone-faced. Take a look. No reaction for hours, just like this, listening as each boy took the stand describing that alleged abuse. The 15-year-old sitting just a few feet away from the man he said he once looked at as, quote, a father figure. But the teen didn't look at Coulter once as he described how his mother's boyfriend would lock his 3 younger brothers in their bedroom for days so they, quote, wouldn't go into the kitchen. The teen says he would hear crying coming from that room when Coulter went in, at one point texting his mother that he saw Kendrick not moving under a blue blanket. The 2 younger brothers testified earlier through video. The judge ruled they didn't have to be in the same room as Coulter because of the alleged trauma. The boys both said they saw Coulter beat Kendrick to death, punching, kicking, even hitting the 8-year-old using the children's own toys, a plane, and Spider-Man figurine. By the way, we're not identifying the boys for their own protection, but those 3 siblings we heard from today lived with the body of their decaying brother for nearly a year as their mother and Coulter moved out, investigators say. Today, the state rested their case. We've also learned we won't hear from Brian Coulter himself. He has decided not to testify. As for whether or not the defense has a case to put on, they haven't quite made that decision. We have a
The trial for a man accused in a brutal murder of an 8-year-old boy will begin today.
You will likely recall some of the heartbreaking details here. Brian Coulter is accused of beating Kendrick Lee to death and leaving his body to decompose for a year back in 2021. ABC 13's Brittany Wilmore is live in the newsroom with more. And
All right, Mr. Coulter, please stand. All right, Mr. Coulter, after considering all the evidence in this case, and the arguments from counsel, the court hereby finds you guilty of capital murder as charged in the indictment. Is there any legal reason now, sir, why the court should not pronounce sentence?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. So, Mr. Coulter, as legally I'm required to do by law, after having been found guilty, I hereby, having been found guilty of capital murder as charged in the indictment, I hereby sentence you to life without parole, and you shall stay in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for the remainder of your life. And with that, State, are there any victim impact statements?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Coulter, have a seat. Mr. Coulter.
That's the part that I wanted y'all to see. Y'all can go check that out on the internet and go look up the rest of that. just flat out didn't care. And I don't understand how a mother can produce all of those children clearly to benefit off of them. Hashtag babies for benefits. I hope she gets a life sentence as well for putting her children in this position. But, you know, nothing's ever going to fix this. And those children are going to forever be traumatized. But I hope and pray that the rest of them can grow up and become something great. And I hope that they also testify against their mother and get her a life sentence as well. So we're only halfway done. Mom, we're coming for you next. Keep those children in your prayers and pray that mom gets a life sentence also. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make this go viral if you would, please. From my heart to yours, AFC, we're the advocates for children, and we're going to continue to keep being the voice for them, okay? Thank you guys so much. Peace.